Hi, welcome to Chesterfield. Just got a little story that I want to share with you, and it might be of use to some of you, it might not, but little welcome gifts like this is always worth sharing with other people. In May I received my 6 monthly water bill, water rates, water bill, whatever it is, and I was looking through it and I was a bit worried why it was so high. I know we have issues with the pond and I have issues with the bath water and all that sort of stuff, but I noticed on there that the drainage, the sewers, was 54% of my total usage. And then I realised that from the pond, from the conservatory down, there are no drains, and that is where the ponds are. But as I was looking down the paperwork, I noticed that 54% of the bill was based on wastewater, water that goes down the sewage, down the drainage, down the sewage, back to the system. The water bill claimed that I'd used 171 cubic metres of water, which I don't know if it's good, it's bad or whatever, but having the koi pond, having the water vats, leaving the hose pipe on accidentally and overfilling, it probably works out about right. But I was more interested in the 54% of that bill, which was wastewater. The wastewater is what they claim goes down the drains, down the sewers. But in my house, how the situation is, halfway down the drive we have our last eco drain, and then the only water, or the surface water, then goes down the grass and into the natural watercourse. The ponds and everything are built down the bottom of the garden, and when I built the pond I built a soakaway. Under the shed was 6 10-inch of gravel. I dug out a load of clay and I put 6 10-inch of gravel in there. I then put some pavers and then a few breeze blocks, and then I built the shed on top of that. The pond was obviously dug out really low and it had lots of clay. If you see some of the videos you can see the clay that I've dug out. But all around that area I also put 6, maybe 8-inch of gravel on the side of the pond, 6 8-inch of gravel. When I built the filter house, I then decided to concrete over it, about 6-inch, but I left the drain hole in there with a 4-inch bit of waste pipe down there that ran into the soakaway, and the water from the drum filter and any overfill goes down there, so naturally soaks away. When we had some bad winters, I noticed that my next door neighbour's conservatory drainage just went to the land, just dropped onto the land. It didn't go down the drain or anything, and with my house being a couple of inches lower, the water from there was soaking through my land, so my grass was basically muddy and damp all the year, all through the winter. So when I returfed it, I decided to fill some 4-inch land drains down there and spiraled it under the ground, under the soil, then down the path to the soakaway. And since then the grass has been perfect, fantastic. It doesn't mud up, it gets a bit wet during the rain, but it soon dries out. Well, the moral of the story is, in May I had my bill, as I mentioned, and I questioned with Severn Trent. I went online on one of the chat rooms and asked them regarding the water, and they said if I could give them evidence to the wastewater and where it went, they would re-look at my bill and adjust it accordingly. As I mentioned before on the build, I fitted a water meter from the house that metered all the water that we used either in the fry vats, in the garden and in the pond. So I knew for the last 2 years how much water I'd been using in the pond, and by common sense, the water that went in the pond replaced the water that came out. The water that came out went down the soakaways or onto the grass and didn't use the sewage. So I calculated what I'd used over 2 years, calculated what they said I'd use, and sent them an email to the customer services. Like I say, that was back in May, and I had a reply a couple of weeks later saying, yeah, you may have a case, can you just confirm the meter readings and the usage, and we'll forward it to a different department. And I did that on the 26th of May, which was quite simple enough because, like I said, I got the meter, got the figures. Like I say, that was May 26th, and up until now I've not heard anything until yesterday when I got an email. And it was quite long-winded, and it explained that the drainage from sewer water that they'd accounted for wasn't actually a correct figure, and based on my figures and their figures, that the refund was, over the last 2 years, £655, which I thought was fantastic. So they've credited my account for £655. My water usage for the last 6 months was 171 cubic metres, with only 46% of that using fresh water, and the rest, the 54%, was wastewater. That equates to, in pounds, shillings and pence, £574 spent. So with receiving a credit of £655 really helps out in that case. But like I said, if you guys have got a Secoh EL or your pond water that you take out, or your sieve water that goes to drain, if that goes to the garden, to the land, you may have a case, if you have some way of proving what water you've used in there, like a secondary meter, which is quite interesting, because the secondary meter that I got was from free of charge from the Severn Trent. So I just fitted that on a 15mm supply from the house and run it down to the shed in the filter house, and it's obviously paid for itself. If you've got any questions about the who to speak to or how to go around doing it, please drop it in the comments, ask me a question, and I'll help you out best I can. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, subscribe. Happy ponding.